Hello, everyone. Welcome on this Saturday to Real Estate with Ryan and April, of course. I'm here today to talk to you a little bit about property management. I know you guys are excited, and I'm here with my lovely husband, as always, Ryan Coleman.
See, she opened the show. See, I threw that on her. I said, you get to open this. I'm tired of opening the show all the time. She was like, sure, it will be the best open ever, Ryan. I said, okay, here we go. Saturday, Real Estate with Ryan.
You've got it.
I told you, you guys never know what in the world you'll get over here. Husband, wife, dynamic, busy life, kids, business, just not enough time in the day, but we're here for you guys. So,
That's right.
yeah, no, can't miss a show with you guys. Thank you guys so much for tuning in every Saturday. If you just happen to tune in the radio on this Saturday, we talk about a little bit of everything, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
Real estate, though, we're trying to give you the up-to-date information in the market here, and we've got a good show for you. We've got a little bit of experience on this topic. We
yes.
have not spent a whole lot of time preparing, I promise you, maybe
Do we ever?
2 or 3 minutes, but there's a lot of education that we can hopefully pass.
Yes,
Kind of the hard knocks of life, right?
it is of the Coleman life over here.
Yeah, so we're talking about if you guys are buying real estate, and obviously the real estate market as a whole is on fire. Investment properties, whether it's multifamily. I've got a client that's putting up a duplex in Kingston. We're excited about that. And just if you're renting single family homes, we know the opportunity to grow your wealth versus the stock market is a great opportunity.
It is.
And real estate over the years has been a sound investment. So what do you do when you run out of time like us? There's just not enough time in the day. And it seems like there's not enough energy. Well, you always want to delegate, right? You always want to delegate something, and property management is no different. So we're talking about time management. We're talking about I'm too busy with the kids going to karate, and I've got soccer, and I've got so much going on. And you know what? Let me get a property manager. I love real estate, but I don't always like to knock on the door and collect the rent. You know, I don't want to be the bad guy. I mean, and
Or
I'm
evict.
or evict.
Ooh,
Oh no, don't do that.
that's fun.
No, that's not fun. But so we talk about all that and go into the process, and most people really don't understand that the property management is a great asset. We do property management here. We're not big on that, so we do have a great division. Sarah helps us and does wonderful with our property, so we can definitely help you with that. But this is more tips. Let's say 12 months ago, 5 years ago, that you have some rental properties, but that time is an issue. And you just can't do it all or don't want to do it all. A property manager is a good asset to help you manage those properties. The rental market is very hard to gauge. In the West Knoxville area, it's very, very strong. April was looking for some homes for some clients that we just sold their house. They're going to build new construction. And tell us a little bit about that process and kind of just as a consumer, what they have to do to kind of find that whole process and help them even find a rental.
Yeah, I think it's really difficult. Well, especially in this West Knoxville area because they're building in Hardin Valley. So they would really like to be in a house because that'd be big enough for their family, and they will not have to rent a storage unit, and they can just keep everything in the house for 6 months while their home's being built. But it's really, really difficult to find with single family homes that are not extremely expensive in this area. So we've kind of been looking for some apartments, hoping that, some single family do not take 6 month lease, which is kind of what they need is a 6 to 9 month. And apartments seem to be a little bit more flexible with that and with pets. So hopefully we can find them something really soon. That's what we've been digging for.
And then that's where, a good call is that, well, hey, let me call my property management. Let's call some companies that do management. And we're always giving out referrals. And of course, we're always helping clients with that. But what do you do in that process that you have those rental properties and you want to rent them out? Well, with that property management, they're going to save you that time and they're going to manage all that for you. They're going to have the contacts with agents like us. Yeah, they should. I mean, ideally. We're talking perfect scenario. We're
Perfect
not doom and
scenario.
Gloom. Not doom and gloom yet, honey. So we talk about that process. That property manager is going to be a liaison. They're going to screen your tenants. They're going to advertise your properties. They're going to network with great agents like us so that if they know any rentals or any possible tenants for their properties, that they can rent them so much quicker.
Right.
The biggest thing that you could have as a property management is a vacant home or a vacant dwelling. And so hopefully what they're going to do is leverage that, and then over time watch your asset grow in value by having less occupancies or vacant properties and more occupancy. And they're going to keep their tenants and that price of your rental keeping up at above market value or competitive in market value.
Exactly.
And so what do you do? This show is all designed about how do you find a good property manager?
Yes.
A lot of people don't really talk about that in that process. I know we have some properties that we manage, and before we started managing them, we did the same thing as a consumer. We're saying, well, we don't really want to fool with it. Let's go hire somebody. We're just too busy. And we did.
Right.
And there's a show on it. And there's a reason. Right? And it didn't work out well.
No, it didn't.
And that's, what we talk to you guys about. Always interview a couple agents. Talk to an agent. It's always important to get that second opinion when you're buying or selling, because there's a big difference in what people offer.
There is.
Well, so I think encouraging you to find the same with the property manager and run those questions. We're going to cover that show today. We're going to talk about some of the experience of real life struggle that we had, some things to look out for, and hopefully if you're in the business or looking for a property manager, or maybe you want to change your current property manager, hopefully give you some hope that there's an opportunity out there. And if you're thinking about getting rid of them and give them the axe, maybe this show confirms that they need to get the boot.
Yeah, that's true.
Or
that's
it confirms you got a great property manager and there just needs to be better communication. Either or, I hope you get a lot of this show. So April, what do we got? What are some of the most important tips? I think if I'm listening, I'm driving the car today and I'm saying, Ryan, what's the most important thing that is in a property manager, what they must do? What do you think is the most important? I've got my tip.
Do you have your tip?
Yep, I won't tell you. We have not discussed it. I
We
promise.
have not, actually.
Let's see.
I think that my most important tip would be communication. That would be my tip for finding a property management company for yourself. Now, there's several ways to go about that before you hire them. And that comes in all different realms of communication. It can be communication with prospective tenants that may be renting your unit. It can be with the current tenants, and it can be with the landlord. So from our experience, we have, and what we would backtrack and do now, I think, would be to actually go to a property of theirs, meaning set up a showing that you want to see one of their properties and see how that process goes. That's what I would say at the beginning.
So you say communication is your
Yes,
biggest tip. Okay.
that's mine.
My biggest tip on anybody, we always talk about it, on real estate and what we do, you got to be able to trust them.
That's true.
I'm a business guy. We deal with a lot of clients, buyers, sellers. I do a lot of business dealings, contractors, and I got to be able to look across from them and trust them. I hired the last manager over the phone. I didn't have the face-to-face meeting, and that was the dumbest move I made.
Yeah, definitely.
Because if I met them face-to-face, I would have already sensed that they're full of it, okay, and that they couldn't have done the job. But I was busy like everybody, and we think, well, hey, if you're a property manager and you have 800 rentals, that more than likely you know what you're doing. You would think. But it's not the case. So I'd say the biggest thing is somebody that you can trust. Now, there's no formula for that. There's nothing on the web. It's just you got to go with your gut.
Yes.
It's kind of like we tell buyers, we walk them through the property, and they may think about it and they pray upon it. I was like, you got to have peace about it. Just have peace about the decision that you make. So if I said that our biggest decision on hiring somebody, you just know you got a gut feeling, feel good about it. Now, we'll get into the technical parts of all the things we need to do to qualify them. But a lot of our deals and a lot of agents, a lot of our clients, I believe, that work with us, we've got all those details and the reviews and the websites and the videos and all that's real fancy, right? But I think it comes down to somebody that can trust and do you feel good about it? And that's not something that you can make up. It's just one of those things that I think when you do business and you're around people, you kind of pick up. So that's my tip on that.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a very good one.
So let's talk about before we got just a little bit for this first quarter's over. What are you going to talk about maybe that the property manager should be doing for you?
There is a lot that the property management should be doing for you. First, I think that you need to know, what are they doing specifically? And there's multiple questions to ask them. And I think the number one is, with mine, communication. How often are you expected to receive reports from them? How often are they communicating with you? And so that's one. Do they do inspections on your property? Do they have...
Let me push back. Why is it so important to do inspections?
Well, because you have to know what the condition is of your units. Do they have a maintenance man on staff too? And so that kind of all goes hand in hand. But definitely, are they inspecting your property? What's the condition in before you rent it and after you rent it?
How often would you recommend renting it?
How often do you?
I'm sorry, renting it, just checking. Hey, well, listen, before I can get into renting it or checking it, doing that property inspection, we're coming up on a hard break. Thank you for listening to Real Estate with Ryan. On the other side of the break, we'll talk more about finding the right property manager for you.
You got it.
When it comes to the real estate market, turn to the experts that focus on you. With over 20 years experience, Ryan Coleman with Hometown Realty knows what it takes. It's the right marketing. It's the right exposure. Ryan and April will use their expertise each step as they guide you through the home buying and selling process. Ultimately, it's about results.
You need someone you can trust that is committed to you.
You have a lot of choices, but the choice is simple. It's Hometown Realty.
Is it time for a new place? Ryan Coleman with Hometown Realty has the experience to sell your home quickly and help you find the right home for you. And if he can't sell it right away, he will buy it himself. Life changes, and sometimes your home needs do too. Buying or selling, turn to someone you know you can trust. Ryan Coleman at Hometown Realty.
Hey, thank you guys for coming back to Real Estate with Ryan. Ryan and April here. We're talking about property management on the other side of the break. We're talking about why you need one. And if you get one, you got to get the right one, right? And so April was talking more about qualifications and kind of that process. And I was telling her, I said, why is property inspections important? And that's a good part. That's where we started out.
Yes.
And I was thinking, that is so important. Why is that so important? Because the biggest issue that you run with as a property manager and as a tenant, and I've been on that other side, is they want to keep your deposit.
They do.
Or the tenant damages the property, and we get into that issue of that damage was already there, or the cabinet was already off the wall, or it just fell down.
Right.
And so you need to document on the front end.
Definitely.
With pictures and dates and timestamps. And when they leave, you want to do the same. That's
Exactly.
the biggest issue that tenants have is an argument over a deposit. So if you
Yes.
got a great property management, make sure they're documenting the damage during the tenancy, if
Yes.
any, and then after.
Yes.
And if you don't have that documentation and you don't have that, then more than likely, if it ever goes to small claims courts, you may lose.
Exactly. And another thing is if you buy a brand new property and hire a brand new management company or switch out management companies, you want to make sure that they go in and inspect every single unit and take pictures and make comments on what they think needs to be done. And so that's another thing that you want to ask if they do that.
So what else there, darling?
Darling.
Darling. What else?
Lord.
What else do you think is important?
I think what is important is in the paperwork that you sign, what is their fees? Do they up charges? So if their fee is lower, do they put in some hidden charges in there to, I don't know, put it in the lease? Or I would even read the lease and see what is in there because...
Well, let me just come right out. She's trying to dance around the subject.
I'm
So
not
we
trying.
hired this management company. And needless to know, we got into the contract. These guys were charging a cleaning fee and a maintenance fee, and they were charging them to our tenants. And this is
didn't
a
know.
company here in town that you make sure you read your contracts. And I won't mention any names, but I can tell you that I had no idea that these inflated charges that they're passed on to my tenants.
Yes.
We'll get into the next topic of not only that, do your tenants or your properties get rented? Well, they don't get rented if you're overcharging for the market.
Right.
Well, if you say, let's say I've got a $800 property monthly rent, and then I want an $800 monthly marketing fee, maybe you don't see behind the scenes that they're charging $1,600.
That's true.
You know, they got $800 lease fee, but then we've got a cleaning fee and a dog fee, and before you know it, your property is not marketable to the competition.
Yes.
That's like some of the agents out there list properties and they put it out there in the MLS and we won't talk about numbers, but there's a market, right? Mm-hmm. And then they're just way below market.
Right.
Right. And so the compensation that they've got is way below market.
And they charge way above.
Yeah. And they're charged way above. Right. And it's actually out there hurting their client.
Mm-hmm.
Same deal here because they're missing showings.
Right.
The same thing on a property management, that if you don't have the fees set forth up front and you don't know about them, and a lot of times you wouldn't even know, because a lot of these applications and leases, and you don't want to get in the weeds about this, but they're done behind the scenes, and it could cause your units to not be rented.
Exactly.
And the monthly rent is dead on, right? You just have all these extra fees that, let's face it, if you're under $1,000 a month, there's just not a lot of money there anyway.
Right.
And so the other guy's got a property and leasing is charging reasonable fees, but you've got inflated fees for the management company. Guess what? Your house sits vacant.
And they say, "Oh, that's a fee that you can get." Actually, that's probably a fee that you're trying to get. So we just don't know about it.
I agree with April that, watch your fees, know exactly what they're charging, get a copy of your lease on the front end, know what they're putting you in, make sure that you have your attorney's fees, that if you have to go to court, I'd say another big thing is have a management company that already has that relationship set up so that you don't have to get involved.
Right.
The management agreement, I think, is one of the bigger things that April probably and I would talk about. But before you enter into an agreement with a property manager, make sure you review your property management agreement.
Yeah, that's my next one that I was going to say.
And because with that property management agreement, I'd have your lawyer look at it, review it, because that really is the document, just like a purchase agreement, listing agreement, that kind of covers everything. So make sure you know what's inside and out there.
Yeah, definitely, because you want to know, can I cancel my contract and can I get out of this, if I don't want your services anymore. So you need to make sure. They may have a time period on there. You have to have your services with me for a year or 2 years. I mean, you never know. So you have to make sure you read over those agreements, because you want to be able to cancel. And if you don't, then you better make sure you put it in there and have them sign it.
And I think something's important. If you're going to enter into an agreement in a relationship, you have something where it's a mutual agreement. If things aren't making sense, make sure you have provisions that, kind of work for your benefits, not just one-sided as well. It's a contract, guys. So everything's open to negotiate. We do it all the time, and it has to be a win-win.
Right.
I think everybody thinks it's just a one-sided deal, but everything's open to negotiate, and hopefully a good business relationship. If you guys are involved and you're doing business and you have multiple properties, that property manager wants to take care of you, and they want to do a good job because you're going to give them more business.
Right. And
just like our business, it's all about referral, and so the better that you do, you would think, would be a better opportunity to earn more business.
Exactly. Now I want to go back to communication, which is, how is your property being showed and to prospective tenants. So what I was saying on the front end is that before you hire that property management, look at their properties that are vacant and then set up a showing and see, because this is based on experience, how long does it take them to respond? How soon can you get in for a showing? And what do they act like? Are they professional? Are they unprofessional? Do they tell you about the property? They just kind of show up and not know anything about it? Are they trying to rent it to you? And so story time on this one is that we didn't do that in the beginning. Before we hired them, we did it, kind of towards the beginning when we weren't getting anyone.
We're your guinea pigs, guys. We're every Saturday here. We talk about all these different topics, and we just pass this on to you, so you don't have the same issues that we have.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It's kind of the hard knocks experience. But you want to make sure that they're professional. I don't care what price range you're at. If you're not going to lease from them, more than likely your tenant's not going to lease from them.
Right.
And I would say that is important. And it takes a lot of time. It's a busy time. But if you have multiple properties, if you're not checking out how they show their properties, then you might have a rude awakening. And we did. And so we had to fire somebody, and that's life. Things happen. So I would say also check your fees. All the fees are negotiable. There's no price. But there's a market rate of what you're getting, and understand what you're getting for your commission and your fees. Make sure they match up with market and what you're expecting.
Yes. That's another one. That's another good one.
What else we got, April?
And then, for some reason, communication is really big with me.
I think she feels like my daughter's teacher. Communication's everything.
Oh my goodness, I know. Now listen, so I want to tell a story that we put an email tracker on our emails, and because we were not getting the responses that we wanted quickly enough. So we came up with a brilliant idea to see if they actually received our emails, and we would email different people throughout the company. They would get our email and open them 20 times, and they would never respond. So that's another good thing to see how good or bad they are. Is just, are they, I mean, if you express your concerns, are they even calling you back? Are they emailing you back or anything? So that's another good one.
Yeah, I mean, I think, overall, you got to pick the right manager, and there's a lot of good and there's a lot of bad. Here's some questions that I want to go over in the process. If you're going to hire somebody, let's talk about how you're going to do it. So you want to make sure you want to ask your property management, how are they screening applications? Mm-hmm. Are they checking credit? Are they checking criminal backgrounds? Sex offender registry? Are they checking the local courts to make sure that they've been, there's no evictions filed? That's very, very important. How are we going to fill the vacant homes? What are you going to do? Everybody asks us all the time, what are we going to do to sell your home? How are we going to help you find a home? There is no different in the property management. And ask them, like everybody, how many units are you managing? Understand this, just because they have a lot of units or less units does not mean that they're not a right fit. Look at what they're going to do. Sometimes the smaller firms, the smaller amount of units, but they have great referrals and you've tested them out, they're going to give more of a hands-on approach that the guy that just has 700 units and they can't even figure out how to get the key box open. Those are really, really important. Now tell me about your staff. I think that's another question. Who's doing the accounting? I know that's an important thing that you want to make sure at the end of the year you're getting your tax statements and you make sure that you're getting all your money.
And
I think that's the biggest thing is when you're going to get paid, guys. And as we wind down the end of the show. And then the last, if you don't pay the rent, what's the process and how does that handle?
Yes.
We probably could go on for a lot of time, but I hope that's helpful in helping you find a property management if you get into real estate. I want to encourage you that real estate is a great business. It's great to own investment real estate. We have several, but with anything, it's an investment.
Right.
It takes time, and yes, it does take risk.
And stress.
But in the long time, it's always going to pay off for you. So just hang in there, stay positive.
That's right.
And if it doesn't work, find the next one. Hey, look, every Saturday you can listen to us right here on the radio. If you need us, it's 693-SOLD, or visit me at ryancoleman.org. You guys have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you.
Take care.